Hello Bookish friends, welcome to my first top 5 video of 2025. In this video I will talk about my most disappointing reads of 2025. I have to clarify that these 5 books are not my least favorite books. I will have another video of those books, but I was expecting a much more. Thus, I was very disappointed by these 5 books. So let's see which books that I was most disappointed by. I finished the book that I was reading for my yearly reading challenge, Go With The Flow, Fairest of Them All by Teresa Mederios. And in this book we meet Holly, who's rumored to be the fairest woman in all of England. But Holly thinks that she is cursed by her beauty because she really does not want to marry any of her numerous suitors. When she becomes the prize as a trophy bride among the suitors, she decides to disguise her beauty and come off as a very plain or even a very unattractive woman. However, she does not know that the Welsh suitor, Sir Austin, is actually looking for a very plain wife because his family is cursed by the rage of Gavonmore husbands who are jealous of their wives' very beautiful looks. I really enjoyed the first third of the book where Holly is disguised as a quite unattractive woman, and Austin gradually discovers that there is more to a woman than her physical beauty. But there is a certain point in the book in which the main characters acted very foolishly until the end of the book. Although there were some parts which were quite romantic, and I have to admit I enjoyed those parts, and that was the reason why I didn't DNF the book. It still was a very uneven reading experience for me. I was very annoyed at some parts. Fortunately, the ending of the book was much better than the middle part. Overall, it was a 6 out of 10 book for me. And I'm quite glad that I finished Once Upon a Time series by Teresa Mederios, which brings me closer to my goal of finishing as many series as I can in the year 2025. I finished Zamanı Durdurmanın Yolları, How to Stop Time by Haig. This was a carryover from the month of June, and I started this book for Joy Reading June. In this book we follow Tom Hazard, who has a very dangerous secret. He looks like an ordinary 41-year-old man. However, he has a rare condition that he ages very slowly, and he actually has been born in the Elizabethan time. He has really lived history, coming up with historical figures such as Shakespeare, Captain Cook, Scott Fitzgerald, and many more. And he has been a part of an organization called Albatross, which protects people who has the same condition as Tom, but the society has one rule, which is never to fall in love. Tom, with his newest identity as a history teacher in England, becomes very attracted to a French teacher. We follow his adventures through flashbacks mixed with the present timeline. I was very impressed by The Midnight Library. And I really like science fiction books that deals with time travel, so I had quite high hopes for this book. Although I enjoyed the book and gave it 7 out of 10, I have to say I was a bit disappointed with this one. The overall plot was quite interesting, and the writing was very clear and on point. However, unlike Midnight Library, I had a hard time connecting with the main character. There was something off about the way that he thought and acted in some situations. So I have to admit I did not feel much even in quite emotional scenes. But I've heard from my close friends that met Haig's other books are better than this one. So I will definitely continue to try books from him. So like I said before, it was a quite decent science fiction book. And I gave Zamanı Durdurmanın Yolları, How to Stop Time by Matt Haig a 7 out of 10. I finished the novella that I was reading, which was a modern translated classic, Olağanüstü bir Gece by Stefan Zweig. This book, originally written in German, was translated to English as Fantastic Night. This book we follow an unnamed narrator, a young man in his 30s, belonging to aristocracy, and lives a very conformist, however, according to him, a very boring and emotionless life. He is very disturbed by the fact that he cannot feel anything, even if something really good or bad happens to him. One afternoon, after hearing the voice of a quite lively but vulgar woman, he starts to feel emotions and gets excited again. Consequent events following listening to the conversation of this woman also leads him to a fantastic night with full of emotions. I have a feeling that this will be the last Stefan Zweig book that I will read. With the exception of the chess story, which was, I think, magnificent, I find his writing style to be suffocating and quite depressing. And although his writing is quite good, the overall plot, to be honest, was quite interesting. It just makes me feel unemotionless, like the narrator of this book is. That's why this novella gets a 6 out of 10. I finished the book that I was reading with Loretta, which was the last book in Dexter series. Dexter is Dead by Jeff Lindsay. This book starts right after the end of the previous book. We follow Dexter as he tries to clear his name from the crimes that he is accused of in the previous book. In order not to give spoilers, I will not give details, but his relationship with his sister Deborah and his brother Brian drastically changes in this book. And Dexter finds himself in between the events that are related to Mexican drug cartel, a very shady lawyer, also a very incompetent police officer who's intent on proving Dexter's guilt. Unfortunately, this book was quite a disappointment for both of us. First of all, the plot of the book was very slow and included many unnecessary details, which feels like they were filler material to make this book a complete novel. Considering that the previous books had excellent tempo, this was, I think, the biggest disappointment that I've had from this book. And also, although Dexter and the other secondary characters all suffered quite traumatic events, both Loretta and I felt like they were not acting according to their characters. Their characters were constructed so well in the previous books. I sometimes felt like they were faking some of the actions that they took. However, this was not the case. So overall, this was a very big letdown in terms of concluding the series. Excluding this book, I am very glad that I read this series with the recommendation of late Alice. That could be one of the reasons that this book was such a letdown for both of us. Overall, I gave Dexter is Dead by Lindsay a 6 out of 10. I finished the book that I was reading with the Pineiro project group, A Crack in the Wall, written by Claudia, Pineiro, of course. In this book, we follow Pablo, an architect who's been working in the same firm for about 20 years after he graduated from the university. He's married with a daughter. Pablo feels very much stuck both in his marriage and also in his job. and dreams about designing his own building, as well as having quite inappropriate thoughts for his co-worker. One day, a young girl comes to the firm and asks about this man whom they met 3 years ago and claimed that a crack in the wall of his home has been caused by a construction that the firm was doing in the plot beside his home. But the girl does not know that the body of this man, Yara, lies in the foundation of that building. First of all, I was very excited to read this book after reading the previous book in the project, which was Elena Knows. And it was the book that I gave 10 out of 10 after more than a year. However, I was very disappointed with this book because I thought the book was such a mess. It started as a not a fantastic but a quite decent crime thriller. Especially in the second part, I felt like the book could not deliver what it achieved to do. It was not an exciting thriller. There were some plot points that were not tied up, just hang loose in the air. And it tried to be a criticism of the society at times, but never got deep enough to achieve that. The characters, with the exception of the main character, who was very boring, were underachieved, though I thought they had potential to be great characters. But of course, there were things that I liked about this book, especially the description of the city, Buenos Aires. I felt like the city of Buenos Aires was the most developed character in the book. The atmosphere of the city was given quite well. Like Elena Knows, I thought the writing was very realistic, and I could picture everything that was written on the page. Overall, this book was quite a disappointment after a great book by the same author. I gave A Crack in the Wall by Claudia Pineiro a 6 out of 10. So those were my top 5 most disappointing reads of 2025. Please comment down below, have you read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, and what did you think of them? If you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose they. They means onlar in Turkish, and onlar is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.